Hi, welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I hope you're doing well today. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. So, school is back in session, and today we are going to talk about some new stuff. So, I woke up this morning and I was thinking, okay, so what do I want to talk about today? And so I turned on my TV, and there was a theory that Robert Edward Grant's putting forward. And he's talking about these complex geometric structures that he's come up with. And he kept talking about the same numbers that we've been talking about, all the lunar numbers. And so I was like, this is interesting. So let me expand upon this. Okay, so he was basically saying that the number 28 is the structural foundation of completeness. Okay, and so this is what I'm going to show you. We'll get to that, but I'm going to show you some other things, because everything is numbered and it's a mathematical value. Everything, every shape, every color, every planet, even what we think are archangels, they're just movement of source, and an archetype, what we've been calling archetypes. Because I was watching Stranger Things last night, and it's the first time I've ever watched this show called Stranger Things. It's a series on Netflix if you haven't watched it. But I started watching this last night, and it literally took me like 2 hours to watch one episode, because I kept rewinding it, and it's blowing my mind. So we're going to decode Stranger Things on here, because that really rocked my world. So much stuff in that show. So, okay, so let's talk about the numerical values of the planets and what they symbolize, okay? Because this is the first building block here. So you've got the sun. The sun is often indicated as a number 1, and the metal is gold, okay? So what we're talking about with what Robert Edward Grant is theorizing is that this one point, which is the beginning of everything, right, is one dot on a grid, okay? One dot. The beginning, the center point, okay? So then you've got the moon, which is considered number 2, okay? So in Robert's theory, okay, if we've got another dot here, we've got 1 and 2, sun and moon. So if we draw a line from here to here, right, we just created motion, right? We just created motion. Okay, so gold is dense, radiant, and incorruptible. Okay, this is basically what we're talking about with source. It represents centered identity. It's the geometric point here for the center. It's an action being. This is source, okay? The moon. Okay, so we've got our second one here. This is reflective. This is the responsive. This is silver. It literally mirrors light. This is where we're getting our duality system, starting from source here is creating motion. So we've got motion here. Okay, so let's talk about Mercury. Mercury is a triangle, okay? So I want to do it more like a triangle, kind of on its side. So if we put a point above, well, it actually should be more over here, but you connect these points, and you see, of course, I can't draw a straight line to save my life. But if you connect these 3 points, you get a triangle, like laying on its side, right? Like this. If you just look at it from this way. We got our 3 points, right? We got our first point, sun, moon, and then we got our other point here, which has now created a shape. You see this? So if we're looking at this like this, this is a 2-dimensional triangle. 2-dimension. So now we've got something to build on, right? We've got a structure to build on, which is 2-dimensional, like this sheet of paper right here. So we've got a triangle that is basically a sheet of paper, flat, two-dimensional. Now we've got a structure right here. Okay, so the interesting thing is that mercury is considered quicksilver, and this is interesting because quicksilver and silver are almost the same thing. It's not a change in the alloy though. Okay, so mercury is flowing metal, right? Like mercury in a thermometer, like the mercury that they used to use in the old world buildings from Tartary. They used mercury. It joins and separates substances. So this is how they were able to conduct their energy from the ground up, is because they were using mercury. Mercury was connecting the two substances. This is also quicksilver. It carries information between states. So we've got the triangle, which is movement and exchange. Okay? All right, so then we got another point on here. We've got a point up here. So imagine that this is flat, right? Like this. And then we decide to do a point up here, okay? So then we draw lines from here up to here, from here up to here, and from here up to here. And so now we went from a flat sheet of paper to a space, okay? So we've now got this, this, and this. All right, we've got what looks like a tree. Because it has multiple sides. All right, so we've got this tree. So when you have the tree, you start from a beginning point, which is the sun. We go to a second point, which is duality. A third point, which is giving us a basis or a form, a shape to be able to stand alone, a stable foundation. And then we've got our fourth point up here, which creates a three-dimensional space. All right. Okay, so the next interesting thing is that you have the tree symbolism that's all in the mythological books, the Bibles, and all of these. But the interesting thing about the geometry of this triangle is that if you put them all together, end to end, just imagine that they have flat bases on them, right? You would have, remember, we got the shape, right? We've got the shape at the base. We've got, if we want to put all of these together, we end up coming up with 28 points. 28 points completes the structure, and we end up with something that looks like, do you guys remember that toy a long time ago in like the 80s, 90s? It was called the Bumble Ball, and it had all these spikes that were coming out every which way. It came out this way and that way and this way. Well, and then the middle was one solid structure, right? This is the whole concept of this, but the math works out to exactly 28. It works out exactly to 28. So, oops, sorry guys, I'm scaring my dogs to death. I'm dropping stuff off my desk. So let's finish going through these. So we've got 4, which is Mars. This is iron. This is the square, right? 5 is Venus. And this is copper. This is our 5-pointed star. Okay, so the square is structural. It's used for tools. Remember the Iron Age? This is when all the fighting was going on. Weapons. Thor's hammer, the Martians. This is when the Martian people were very active on Earth. Okay, this is action and assertion. This is our Phoenix events. This defines our edges and our boundaries. So Venus is copper because copper is a conductor and it's used in all kind of ornamental things. Beauty. 5-pointed star. If you're born in May, you're born on the 5th. If you've got a numerology of 5, you're probably pretty, because everybody that has fives in the numerology are pretty. It's representing Venus. It's a warm, attractive, and a relational, a part about you that's an allure. Fives are all about that. It's a self-referential harmony, action, attraction, and proportion. So copper literally connects things. Like just when they're doing electrical in a house and stuff, they connect everything with copper wire. Okay, so 6, we've got Jupiter. Jupiter is 10, and this is a hexagon. And so Jupiter, 10 alloys, and it expands usefulness. It's associated with law, order, and civilization. You had a lot of tin mining that was going on by the Celts. So, I mean, I wonder if these groups originally come from Jupiter. So, this is action, growth with structure. So then we get 7, which is Saturn. Saturn is lead. And this is actually not a geometric form. However, this Saturn is number 7, and this is when friction enters into our system of shapes, our system of numbers. And then we've got 8, which is Earth. So with 7, you got a heavy lead, which is a restrictive, slow, and absorbing thing. This is always putting us in limits. This is why they say Chronos, is about time. Saturn always marks limits, time, and compression, guys. So geometrically, this is where friction is entering into our system. And this is what they have in this false matrix that we're in right now, is that they have this loop that they've reversed Saturn, because Saturn is the origin of this, right? Okay, so Earth is number 8, and we've talked about this. Earth is the forge, guys. Earth is the alloy of everything. The alloy of everything, because Earth is the number 8, and it's volumetric. It has 3-dimensional form here. It's dense. It's embodied. It's layered. It's gravitational. Earth isn't just one metal. It's all of them. So Earth is 8. And so cube math fills space. Tetrahedral math defines relationships. So let's look over here at this diagram, and I hope you can see it. I showed you this probably like a week or so ago. This was the emblem that was on these beings that this farmer seen a long time ago. They came out of a ship, and they were collecting water, and they didn't know that he was there. And he came up from behind a bluff where he had been digging a hole, he was digging like a trench, or he was building like a dam, because he was a miner. He was a gold miner. And these beings were there collecting water, and they didn't know he was there. And so they talked to him, but this was a symbol that was on their outfit, guys. And so this right here is the shape of all the trees put together end to end with the 28 points. Okay? This is this shape completed right here. This is showing a 2-dimensional picture, because obviously we can't see it in a 3-dimensional way on their shirt. But if you look at it as expanding from all of its sides, just like I was showing you, all of the ends to ends to ends, where nothing is left open, nothing is left loose, everything is jam up and jelly tight. You end up with 28 points, guys. So this right here in their symbol says it all. You've got the circle, just like down here, one of the most famous drawings in the world. We've got the circle, right? This is the womb, the cosmic egg, right? Everything is happening inside of the egg. Everything is happening. This is the wholeness, the point, the womb. Okay, and then we've got the triangles and the circles together. This is a creation mix. And then we've got the phi symbol in here on this central axis. The central axis goes through the center, through the axis mundi, And this is an indication of the world tree. And as you see that it's curving around and making this shape, you've got taking it from the field into the form. And we've got descending and grounding into matter. Like if you bring it this way, shows you coming down into matter. If you take it this way, right? I told you mother's wheel always goes clockwise. This is taking us into form, into receptive field, into potential. This is like an ear or a cup, right? This is descending. So this right here is basically saying that everything that's in alignment with the field is creation manifesting. We have to have a balanced field. This is exactly what this Leonardo is saying here. This is the pointed star of Venus, the tetrahedron. We're stuck in a cube here, but we have to operate in the 13th archetype right here. The 13th archetype of being in the womb, in the wholeness of the cosmic egg, where we can take the spiral, right, into implosion, like we've been talking about. We're going into a spiral, guys. We don't want to keep going around in this wheel that's stuck inside of a square. We have to get out of that. We have to go and embrace the 13th archetype. So we're not building space by filling it. We're building structure by connecting these points here. So I think that it's really interesting that we've got 3 creating the first stable structure, right? The tetrahedron, which is containment. Triangle with a point above it. All edges connected. I mean, I know my drawing is pretty bad. I hope you guys get the gist. I'm kind of trying to draw this, but kind of on its side. Because when you can stack these up like this, end to end, to end, to end, to end, and you're just connecting points. See, this is what we're doing. We're connecting points. We're not trying to rebuild the wheel, guys. We're not trying to rebuild the wheel. We're just turning the wheel. We don't need to rebuild the wheel. We've heard that so many times over and over. So 28 is a completed tetrahedral system. So we've got a total layer. We've got a layer of 1. We got a layer 2. We got a layer 3. We got a layer of 4, which is 10. And then we've got a layer of 5, which is 15. And then it gives us a total of 28. And so when this 28 is not a bigger shape, it's a completed system. So you can go as big as you want, I'm sure. But this is the shape that completes the system. But ironically, if we go back and look at our old notes here, oh, not quite that one. Well, I mean, we've got the number 13, right? Which is our 5 is 1, 5, 8, right? We've got how 13 is the cycles that fit inside of the cycle. Creation and reality. Okay, here we go. Well, let's see. We got, how many diagrams did I draw here? Well, we got 28,000 years between each return, about 28,000 years. We got 28 days of a woman's menstrual cycle. The dung beetle in the 28 days. The lunar calendar was 13 months. So, I mean, the cycles are on a lunar calendar. And it's everywhere in our architecture. It's absolutely everywhere in the architecture. In architecture, it totally explains how we have to put the heart space back into our reality here. In between, in the alloy, in the forge. We have to add back in the copper. We need to be conducting it. We need to be a conductor. We're supposed to be conducting heaven and earth, right? We're supposed to be the copper in between. So I have some notes that I wrote. I've been working on this all morning, because when you first start doing all this math, if you're like me, I'm no polymath, guys. I'm no polymath. I like to have like visual aids to help explain things. But the whole point of this lesson is that you don't have to be a polymath to take the single structure and expand it out by connecting points and come out with 28. And 28 happens to be the number of the primordial mother. 13 and 28. So every point has something to lean on. Nothing's dangling. Nothing's unstackable. The structure holds itself. See, this is the key moment. So, I mean, it's interesting that how it's kind of tied to a tree as well, you know. So 28 is not magic, and it just means that nothing's left hanging. So the connection points for a fully supported structure are 28. So I think that's really interesting. So big, strong structures don't come from complicated ideas. You don't have to be a polymath to figure this stuff out. They come from simple connections that are finally starting to close. So, I mean, the Christmas tree is really a really good symbol, honestly, because I said that Christmas was no pagan holiday to be afraid of, right? That Christmas, we came from the North Pole, but, you know, just like in the pyramids, when they, I can't remember what book that was that I was reading. It might have been the Urantia books. They were saying, or it might have been the Keylontics material. I've read so many books at this point, but I was reading that that pyramids were built from the top down. So that totally makes sense if you say top down, right? Because you have to create a three-dimensional structure. Think about it, right? You start out with this little triangle. You have to have a base, and you have to have these points from the top down. From the top down in order to be able to create. So yeah, it wasn't like magic. It wasn't magic. It was just a way that they were explaining things back in different time when they tracked time differently in lunar times. And so there are often references that you have to do a little math work to get the calculations right. So I mean, Christmas is, you know, it's interesting because, you know, the tree of life talks about it, and all of them talk about these tree of life because, you know, you have your roots, and then you have your trunk, and then you have the branches, which the branches, they make fractals, right? They make Fibonacci spirals. Just like one of the very first things that I was downloaded is that I needed to McKenna. I kept hearing McKenna, and I'm like, McKenna? What are you talking about, McKenna? And then I realized they were talking about Terence McKenna and how he was talking about the basis of all of creation is fractals. And I was like, wow, who is this guy? And then I find out, you know, that he got cancer because, you know, anybody that knows too much. So, you know, it's interesting. So basically, in a nutshell, is that 4 points create a space. 4 points create a space. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've created a space, right? 3 points create a foundation. 3 points create this. 4 points create this. Okay? So when you put all of them together where there's no incomplete spaces, you get 28. You get 28. So 4 creates space, 28 complete space. So once again, we're going back to the same thing, that we have to be between the 12th and the 13th archetype, that we have to embrace Officius. In order for us to bring heaven to earth, we have to be the copper. We have to be the conductor. We have to be the mercury. We have to be these things. We have to do our work, working with the planet, tuning nodes. And, you know, the more people that we get involved with this Earth Exchange program, the better off we are. If we can tie all of our nodes in together by putting a little pinch of soil in the ground from other sacred nodes, and then sowing original heirloom seeds, then we can restore the original memory codes in the planet, and it will really help with the ascension process, guys. We need to get serious about this. I haven't heard anybody else talking about this, and I really wish they would. So with that, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. And I hope that it's not too confusing, because it does seem a little confusing, and I try to use visual aids, but I get all this stuff dropped in my head, and Venus is just so important. Bringing the heart space back to the planet is so important, and it's in the geometry, it's in everything, it's in the architecture, it's in our names. I mean, it's hardwired everywhere in the symbols. You know, we have to remember it. And that, you know, even in the book of Daniel, because I've talked about Daniel before, because I've kept getting that I needed to go back and read Daniel. And I thought originally, I don't know, it's probably been over a year ago, I was talking about Daniel. I thought it was having to do with not eating blood, you know. And, you know, there's frequency that comes with blood. And the unfortunate thing is that there's a lot of people here that have to have blood because we're extremely iron deficient. And I'm one of those people. I tried to be a vegetarian for a year, and it made me sick, and I gained 30-something pounds because it ruined my testosterone, my estrogen, and everything. And it's because I come from these bloodlines, these RH and these O bloodlines, and my iron is always a problem. Always. I'm always having to get iron. And so, you know, it just goes to show you that I'm Venus heavy, right? I'm copper heavy, and I'm Mars iron deficient. So 4 plus 5 equals 9. So yes, I am copper heavy. I am copper heavy because I can't take copper supplements, but I have to take iron, and I hate taking iron. But I have to get infusions every 6 months. So I am. So this is my area, is that I am here. This is why I'm marked on my right eye. I'm here to balance my iron. I'm here to balance my iron. So what are y'all here to balance? What are y'all here to balance? So with that, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Because even the statue that's in Daniel talks about the head being gold, the chest and arms silver, which is one. The head is the sun, right? The chest and the arms is silver. That's the moon. The middle thighs is bronze, so that's silver, quicksilver, Mercury. And then the legs are iron, which is 4, Mars, right? That's a square. And then the feet are iron and clay. So that's Mars plus Earth. So 8 and 5 is 13, right? 10, 13. Yeah, 8 and 5 is 13. Wait a minute. Mars is 4. It's 12. Oh, 8 and 4 is 12. No wonder. That's what Daniel was talking about. I just got an epiphany. I was wondering why that wasn't adding up right. It's meant for me to have this epiphany right now. Okay, so if Earth is 8 and Mars is 4, and we have the feet of the statue in Daniel is iron plus clay, that equals 12, guys. That's saying it's a closed system. And then he's talking about that a cut stone, not of human origin, so we're talking about celestial, struck and broke the feet of the statue and broke the statue into a bunch of pieces. So that just goes to show you is that we have to break the wheel. We have to go from 12 to 13. We got to turn it. That we can't stay. We have to break the 12 and go to the 13th. Oh my gosh, unbelievable. And it's 28 minutes. So I'm going to end the video right now. When you come and find me, I'll be here. We're living past, present, future, all at the same time. Thanks for watching Sacred Enzyme. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the videos. Have a great day. Bye-bye.